Okay, we are back. We are back with Daryl Peeden, and we are joined by his brother. And we're going to get this and go into it, and we're just going to let him talk on the show, and and get his platform out and tell us a little bit about his strategic plan of what he wants to do for Moreno Valley. But we're also going to put him on the hot seat and ask him some really tough questions that I can think of at the time. Me and Sean Prt2 had to go, but in the audience again is still candidate for school board Daryl. He comes out on the Wednesdays because he wants to see what's going on, what people are talking about. No other school board candidate is doing that, but we're going to be asking him to come on the hot seat soon enough. So Daryl, thank you for joining us, and let's just get back into it, guys. So as we look at these elections, and I'm going to have to ask this question, and sorry if it's kind of puts you on the hot seat.
That's fine with me.
But there's an Edoit named Prt2, whatever his name is, and he made an accusation at the forum in regards to throwing stuff out on Facebook and whatever. And do you care to kind of get that out, because you tried to clarify that and they cut you off?
At the end of the day, I don't want to spend too much time on it. I mean, there's other serious issues in this community that we should be discussing. But I mean, at the end of the day, when I think his name's Pete, was at the candidate forum, and he mentioned that. I mean, the reality of it is I had no idea what he was talking about. I was really just, flabbergasted, just trying to figure out what is he talking about. Well, come to find out, I guess Daniel, and he's here, and he can kind of chime in, because it's not something. Something that I was even engaged in, and people have this idea that, me, myself, and I read everything on Facebook. In fact, I don't spend too much time on Facebook, but in every conversation I can't track. But Daniel can give a little bit more explanation of what went down and how this was twisted and turned and spun into this fabrication. Which I've got to give all those folks, those Edo folks, and Pete and all those other folks that are supporting other candidates, congratulations on being able to successfully spin something and make something seem so. Bravo to them. It is politics, and that's the name of the game. But let's Daniel chime in a little bit and kind of go over that real fast. And again, let's not spend too much time.
Too much time on it. But like I said, and then another thing is, you guys being twins, it's kind of hard for people to decipher. Not that they can't tell you apart or whatever, but when we talk about the Peeden twins, it's there's two people, but to a lot of people, it's one and the same person.
Right, so. and that's mainly our mistake. I mean, we have to give credit to ourselves for that, because we are identical twins, and we own that. So, I understand.
Yeah. Okay. So Daniel, what's the 411? Let's get the information.
Sure. So Pete and I were going back and forth on a discussion. He started asking me some personal questions, And a lot of these guys, they say, "Oh, we should be able to ask candidates personal questions," but they forget that I'm not a candidate.
Right.
So when you start asking me questions about where I live or who I stayed with, and these personal questions, I mean, we've even had questions about my wife's immigration status. And these are the people that ask these personal questions, and it came to a point where I basically just started asking him ridiculous questions. But I'll have to say, I did. It was a little insincere of me to ask these types of questions. I was being sarcastic when I brought these numbers up.
Or insensitive.
They were. It was insensitive. Excuse me.
Well,
but let me just finish.
Go.
But then, if you actually look down on this thing, I realized that I shouldn't have said that, because what I said could have possibly been true because of the recession and stuff like that happened. So if you look on that feed, you'll actually notice that I did apologize to him.
Right. Yeah. I was going to bring that up, because I saw the feed, and he gave the impression that like he went to Equifax and put his whole credit thing up and stuff, and that wasn't the fact. To me, all I saw was a number.
Right.
And that you could have pulled that number out of everything, and I guess it was like 586. That's a pretty good score.
Well, actually, what I did, I actually Googled. I said, "What's the lowest credit score you can actually get?" And it was 580. So I wrote 580 on there.
Right.
But the thing is, I want people to understand when you make accusations to people and accuse them of creating a federal crime, it's serious. And we take it serious. That is a libelous attack, and we do take that serious. And anybody that thinks that they will continue this narrative online or anything and try to hurt my reputation, that's something that we take serious, and we will push forward in terms of a lawsuit towards it. So I don't advise anybody to continue this narrative because it's strictly false.
Right. Now, back to Daryl real quick. Everybody knows I'm on the internet. Of course, it's obvious, whatever the deal's going on. The question that I have, and I noticed that, like, whenever you would put a policy procedure, now, I don't agree with some of your policy procedures.
Sure. I don't think, who agrees on everything?
Right, exactly. I don't have to agree on everything like that. And, some things I was like, well, that's not going to work. And, I strongly disagree with some of your positions.
Sure.
But it's your position.
Absolutely.
And I'm not a policy, I don't have a degree in public policy, so I'm not an expert in what I do, but you have studied it.
Right.
And, you ran campaigns, and so you're a numbers guy.
Right.
And what I'm getting from a lot of the feedback that you get in your campaign, it has nothing to do with your numbers or your vision of what you want to do as mayor, things like that. To me, it's just, it seems to me that certain people just don't like you.
Right. So,
and it's a personal.
Yeah, look, one thing I understand about Moreno Valley is there's corporate activists, right? There's this one corporation that has a stranglehold around Moreno Valley, but outside of that, there's also many factions, right? People that have their own interest in making sure that the people that they know, that they're their friends, that they've been working so hard for so long to move up the ladder of political, the political hierarchy or whatever you want to call it. They have an interest in ensuring that their friends and family or whoever they are get elected to office. So, you have, but not only that, you have factions. You do, a lot of people want to say that local politics is nonpartisan, but it's not true, right? We saw that with the air quality management district, right?
Correct.
It's not true, and so the fact is that we are split by political parties. These are different factions that are involved in Moreno Valley, and people are going to do whatever they can to try to discredit our campaign. For whatever reason, they don't. Look, at the end of the day, I firmly believe that most of the stuff that I put out in terms of our economy, everybody agrees on, right?
Okay.
We understand that we have the lowest small business density in the nation. We understand that our economy is hurting and that warehouse development doesn't help us increase any real social mobility or help our economy thrive. There's no question about that, right? So, I know everybody agrees with that. The question is, do they want to sit down at the table and let's have a conversation about it? You don't have to agree with my direct stance on maybe community wealth development or whether that would work. But when you're looking at our policies, it's really forcing you to say, hey, I agree or I like where you're going with this. Let's sit down at the table and let's figure out what a solution is. I'm not saying everybody's got to agree with me, and what I'm putting out there is what we're going to do. I am interested in increasing our participation rate in our communities. And that means that we've all got to come to the table and we've got to figure out what's really going on and how we're going to better our communities. I invite people, let's talk about the issues, let's talk about the policies, and let's come up with something. Look, yes, I am educated in policy. I spend a lot of time researching policy and things that are going to help with our economy here. And I do believe in the things that I'm writing and putting out there in terms of policy. However, that doesn't mean that I may not know something that I don't know.
Right.
So if somebody knows something, bring it forward. Let's talk about it. But the idea is that we've got to, maneuver Moreno Valley into the right direction. And, the only way you do that is to make sure that we put things forward and say, let's have this discussion. Let's talk about living wages. Let's talk about a $15 minimum wage, because the only way we're going to bring attention to temporary employment and people getting paid $10.40 an hour, and our 33% poverty rate in Moreno Valley and 25% of our workers in poverty, we have to start talking about what does it cost to live here and what's a living wage.
Okay. I think that's fair. I think that's very fair. Now, there are, I believe, 9 people running for mayor. 8 or 9 or something like that. And I got to say, I'm not running for mayor or anything. I was in the first heat in District 1, and, I watched. And as you know, I try to be as fair and whatever. Like I said, I like a lot of what all you candidates have to say for mayor. My biggest thing is, what are you going to do for my neighborhood? And that's self-interest of anybody.
Of course.
And I got to say, when you were up there, you were very knowledgeable in what you were saying. A lot of people did say that.
Right.
The personal attacks, I can say this, and I'm going to hope I'm not being disrespectful to you or anything like that, but I'm going to tell people this right now. I happen to know for a fact it was not the Peeden brothers that did the Ronald McDonald thing. okay, whatever that was about.
I didn't even know what that was about.
Yeah.
That confused me too, because I didn't understand what she was even talking about. You know, a lot of people want to laugh at me because I misquoted JFK, and I didn't misquote him. I just couldn't even get it out because literally in my mind I was so like
blown away.
I was just shocked. Like, are people really just up here just blatantly lying about me? So I was trying to work that out in my mind. And of course, I think you're right. Though anybody that's right that says that I shouldn't quote JFK if I don't get it right is absolutely right.
Right. Okay.
But, you know, I'll take that one, no problem.
Right. But I happen to know.
I didn't understand. I couldn't understand where that was coming from.
Yeah, I happen to know that had nothing to do with the Peeden brothers at all, and I have a little insight on some of the things going on in Moreno Valley. It doesn't mean I'm an expert, but I happen to know that for a fact was not the Peeden brothers, so I don't even know why that was brought up. But since it was brought up, and you know, she did have red hair, you know, you all can only imagine what I was thinking at the time. So let's get that out of the thing like that. But other than that, you guys have a very it's a very heated contest for mayor, and you got a lot of people out here that have signs all over the place. Some people are getting money from PACs and things like that. You know, the 460s haven't come out currently. Can I ask you, are you guys receiving money from PACs? Because you know the Edowitz are going to come out and say, oh, they're getting outside money from Riverside and all that other stuff.
Yeah, look, I will not be taking in any kind of money from any developers. Okay. You know, I stand strong on that. I'm not going to I'm not going to allow it in my campaign, and we're going to make sure we run a pure campaign. The reality of it is we don't need that kind of money to win this election. Again, I'm not going to go into too many details about our campaign, but you know, when I say that I'm against big money, I'm against big money. I'm against developers buying our elections, and I will not be a benefactor of that type of money. Absolutely not. I believe grassroots. I believe that we've got to go get in the community, because if we're going to change this community, if we're going to increase our participation rate from 28% to 40 and 50%. That's what it takes. You know, no longer can we use the excuse that people don't care because they don't come out and vote. No, it's because we're not doing our jobs as leaders to be leaders and go out there and knock on these people's doors and talk to them about the issues. The reality of it is when you're in poverty, when you work, both parents are working and they're leaving the city to work. They get home at late hours and they've got kids and they've got to do homework. You know, they don't have time to focus on what's going on in the city. So it's our job as leaders to get out there and talk to them. And that means you've got to put some blood, you've got to put some sweat into it, and you got to get out there and be serious about it. So, you know, that's my stance. No, I'm against big money, and now, of course, some people have their definition of what big money is. Apparently, some people think a few $1,000s is big money or whatnot. You know, so we'll have to work that through in terms of what people believe big money is. But our stance, big money is developers buying our elections through hundreds of thousands of
for their projects.
For their projects. I mean, that's big money. That's corporate influence that we're completely opposed to.
Okay, great. You were talking about the people that are commuting, and Brian Lowell was saying with the Kia factory thing and how engineers are commuting to Orange County or something of that nature. You know where I'm going with that?
I think he was talking about karma.
Yeah, karma. I'm sorry, karma.
Yeah.
And the reality of that, most of the people that commute aren't engineers. They aren't rocket science. They aren't those kind of people. So his numbers were totally skewed in that. So I don't know where he was getting his statistics or what he was talking about in that aspect. But I'm going to ask you another question. You are running for mayor, and it's a very important issue, and it's an issue that affects everybody in this city. And if it doesn't affect you, it affects your neighbor or somebody. Everybody knows somebody that has this. We have a problem in that death shelter. As the mayor, I'm going to ask you personally, if and when you win, what are you going to do about the animal shelter? I would hope that you would put a moratorium on killing and find out what is going on with that shelter, because we have so many problems in that shelter. No candidate's talking about that.
So it's my understanding, and look, I'm no expert in animal shelters by any means, and I haven't been able to spend too much time on that specific topic, and I think issues become very complex. But this is my understanding, and but believe me, I don't believe that we should be okay with what's currently going on in our animal shelter. So it is my understanding that and they're killing animals, and I certainly don't agree with that. And I think that we need to make sure that we look at the root cause and make sure we find solutions. One of those solutions is that I believe that we need an open air facility. You know, if these animals are getting kennel cough because they're in a closed space, and this is causing some euthanasia, then did I say that right?
Yeah.
Then we need to make sure that we mitigate those issues. we need to make sure our animals are coming into the shelter and they're getting adopted, and we're not killing them because they're getting sick or for whatever other reason. Again, I'm not completely knowledgeable about all the reasons why these animals are getting killed, so I won't claim that I do. But I do know that if an open air shelter will do tremendous for those animals and their health and their well-being, and I think we definitely need to make sure that happens.
Okay, so let me get this clear. When you get elected mayor, you're going to put a moratorium on the killing in the shelter until we find out what's going on.
And no question about it, right? I mean, but obviously there's complexities to put a moratorium on killing, right? If an animal is extremely sick and there's no way we can help them, then those are things that we have to look at. But animals should not be getting killed because we don't have space for them,
right? Well,
or they're not getting adopted. I don't know the exact reasons why they're getting killed.
See, but that's why I asked you the question. Put a moratorium until we find out what's going on. You as the mayor find out what is going on, because right now we are dealing with a lawsuit that was caused by LaDonna Jimson's inaction as the council person in her district and the city's inaction. Right. There's something going on in that animal shelter to where now we are privy to a lawsuit. So
it is my understanding that their animals are suffering from kennel cough because it's not an open air facility. So we're going to have to make sure we correct that.
Right. Now, again, that's one side of the city's determination, but according to some animal lovers and people that come in there, that's not the case at all. They're just killing them, just straight out, because there's other outlying issues. But I'm just asking you.
Well, if that's the case, then yes,
there's always two sides to a story.
There should never be any killing just because they have or some kind of reason to kill them outside of a reason why you would have to put an animal down. So no, I agree with you. I mean, I'm an animal lover myself, and this is a serious issue, and we need to make sure we're taking a look at it. We can't ignore these issues.
Right, but then we have some people that get elected, and again, 3 months after LaDonna Jimson came on that seat, and I'm not downing with John, I'm talking about issues that affect me and my neighborhood and the city. She gets on that seat 3 months after we asked her, look into this and put a moratorium, and then her answer to us is always, well, the staff told me, and the staff told me. We don't care what the staff is telling you. You're the councilman. Do something and get an investigation. And now here it is, 2 years later, election time. Now she wants to be proactive. And to me, it's a little too late. And all we're asking is put a moratorium. A moratorium isn't permanent. It's finding out what is going on and stopping what they're doing until we get an investigation of what's going on.
Does she believe that she already understands fully what the problem is? Is that why? Or?
Well, you got to remember, she's the same person that said, would Ito lie to me? Does anybody remember that? Would Ito lie to me? I think he would. He lied to everybody else. So that's something that's I think is a very, very serious issue. Now, in regards to our youth, a lot of people talk about this. I've been here a long time, as you know, 39 years. LaDonna Jimson wants to bring in a Boys and Girls Club that's going to cost us $9 million, which I think is totally ridiculous when we have a senior center that's funded by the city. Why can't we have a joint senior youth center that is funded by the city? So would you be for that, like doing something for our youth around the city?
Right. I mean, no question. I think that when you're talking about public amenities, we need these sort of things, and we need to figure out a way to pay for them. This needs to be priority. When you look at redesigning our economy, that generating and creating public amenities is part of that plan. We have to do it. There's no question. I have a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old. If you think that I'm not sitting back wondering what my children can get involved in, especially when it comes to science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, you're wrong. I'm certainly thinking about that, and I'm thinking about all the other children in this community, and looking at what are we going to do to build community. A lot of these folks give us this excuse, and quite frankly, I'm tired of hearing it. I'm tired of hearing that, this is a bedroom community, or we've been a bedroom community for so long. Well, guess what? We've already added a bathroom, we've added a room, we've added a kitchen.
Correct.
This is no longer a bedroom community. So now it's time to start thinking and putting our big boy pants on and solving these issues. But that in order to do that, we have to think outside the box. We have to show up to work, and we have to get the job done. And we have to show some initiative, and that means being proactive, and that means being resourceful, and not sitting on our butts wondering where the resources are so we can do these things, but going out there and getting them, because there's plenty of things out there and plenty of money out there to do what we need to do. So in terms of children activities and these sort of public amenities, the bottom line is we need it, but we have to we cannot say we need these things, and at the same time we're still developing a warehouse economy.
Okay.
It doesn't
Gotcha.
work. We have to stop that, and we have to create community wealth building, community wealth development. We have to increase our small business density. We have to increase our tax revenue by generating a thriving economy, by creating businesses that are loyal and invested into our community. And then all of a sudden, what you'll see is that we will start having public amenities.
Okay.
I mean, it's not. I mean, it's complicated,
But it's doable.
it certainly is.
It's doable. It's doable. Okay, great. Now, I'm going to ask you about this. And like I said, you've been doing a lot of stuff. And like I said, I've been reading your page. And some things I like, some things I don't like. But, that's a discussion, like you said, we have to have.
Yeah.
And figure it out and find a way to go. Right now, the WLC is involved in several lawsuits. If the WLC survives these lawsuits, and you're the mayor, how are you going to make that work?
I'm going to repeal the project. Bottom line, the project, if I'm mayor, and I'll just put it out there, look, I know I'm putting a target on my back, and I know a lot of people are going to say that I don't have that power to repeal
That's
anything.
a brave stance to take, though. Go ahead.
You're right. I don't have the power as the mayor to repeal a project on my own. But this is what this is about, right? This is about taking a stance, standing for something, understanding the impacts, the negative externalities that this project will bring to our community, and not allowing this to happen. Look.
Well, what happens when our population in the Inland Empire gets to 7 million people in like 30 or 40 years, and most of our land in the Inland Empire or in Moreno Valley on the eastern end is all warehousing?
Well, you got to remember
What are we gonna
this.
do?
I'm almost 50 years old, so in about 25 years, I won't care.
Right.
Just like a lot of people that are charping for the WLC. They're not going to be here.
Well, I care, and I care for my children. And I've lived in Miami, I've lived in Sacramento, I've lived in San Diego. I always find my way back home.
Right.
To the
That's
Inland
true.
Empire.
That's true. I myself came back to it.
We always do, right? So we can either run, and we can say we don't care because we won't be here for whatever reason. But I'm not going to just run away. And like Daniel said, our population is going to continue to increase. Warehouses are one job for 10,000 square feet. They produce no multiplier effect. It's bad news for our economy. It's bad news for our public amenities. It's bad news for our children. So again, I can't repeal the project by myself, but I'll do everything I can to get what I need to get that project on the agenda and to repeal it. And I will get the support of other city council members because we will have a discussion of what this really means for our economy. They're not telling us the full story, and we're not going to spend money on this project. We can put that hundreds of millions of dollars that this project is going to cost us and put it into public amenities. That's how you build an economy. Put that into small businesses. That's how you build an economy. So, I'm adamantly against the project. I'm not running because I have this desire that the only thing I care about is repealing the project. No, that's not it. But I understand the costs associated with that World Logistics Center. That warehouse is bigger than Grand Terrace.
Right.
Come on, let's think about this. There's no infrastructure. Who's going to pay for it?
Right. Now, remember at the forum, before I got booed and stuff, I was talking about supplementing the WLC if it did pass. They would ask me the question of jobs. And I'm talking about addressing the truck infrastructure. And the reason why I talked about that is because if you're an EDOIT out there and you're listening to this program, how could you be against me talking about infrastructure for trucks that supplements the WLC? Because that's, again, it's like having a car with no wheels and an engine, but it's on blocks.
Right.
I'm trying to alleviate problems. You have all these trucks running around right now that have no infrastructure. So by saying that, there's one of two things that I've thought about as I'd be considered a logistical expert. Okay. If you are against what I'm saying and you don't start addressing the truck issue now, then that means the WLC ain't going to be built. Because if you don't start doing it now, you're going to have a big problem down the road because you have no infrastructure for it.
Reasonable, right? It's reasonable.
Right. And like I said, and it creates jobs if you invest into it now, in entrepreneurship. So I'm not saying that I'm adamantly opposed. I'll wait till the courts come to it, but everybody knows I was in the wars, with you like that, and I took a stand.
Right.
But if you're going to do it right. And I firmly believe if the EDOITs and Highland Fairview do not address that truck infrastructure, they have no intention of building this thing. It's going to be something else. And they've alluded to that in some of their statements in the press enterprise. Well, we might lease this off, or we might not own all the whole. It's crazy, and people they just listen to the sound bites.
Well, we know Highland Fairview this corporation's they deal in market speculation, right? So
right.
It's not unreasonable to think that this project will never be built. It's not unreasonable to think that plans will change. Certainly it can. We're talking about 15 years from But I do think that we need to start thinking about the costs associated with this project, the costs associated with concentrating all of our priorities and our efforts into an industry that brings no real benefits.
Well, also the Moreno Valley Utility Electric Incentive Rate Program, which most of these warehousing are part of that program. These people are getting upwards of 26% subsidy from taxpayers.
Right.
And if you calculate all these warehouses, that's a lot of freaking money
that we're just giving away.
And who are these warehouses? Third-party contractors, temporary employment. They take our money, they basically ship it out to their headquarters outside of the state of California or somewhere else in Orange County.
See, the Inland Empire, Moreno Valley, we receive all the consequences from
bad decisions
from global capitalism, right?
Right.
The Inland Empire, it is a fact, the Inland Empire is responsible for what our politicians are saying and some of our economists are saying of why California has got out of the recession. It's the Inland Empire, it's the goods movement. We move 40% of all the goods throughout the nation. But again, we get all the negative externalities from the goods movement. The Inland Empire, we suffer.
Right.
We get all the cost, and we get no benefit. Everybody else gets the benefit. I mean, you look at Karma over here. They won't even build their corporate headquarters here because Moreno Valley is not attractive. Right? So this should tell us about our public amenities and what we're lacking that we need to start building. And it only happens when we put the logistics industry aside and we focus on how you build community and not building an industrial city that exploits our workers. And while those corporations are taking the profits and shipping them over to Irvine or to some other state.
Right.
I mean, we need profits to stay in our community so that they can be recycled through public amenities and through other small businesses so we can create a thriving economy, a positive feedback loop.
Right. I mean, how are we the second largest city in Riverside County and we don't even have a civic center?
That's what I mean. I mean, why are we talking about this, right?
There you go.
I mean, instead of all of us fighting and getting involved in all this high school drama, we should be having a serious conversation and sitting at the table and saying exactly what you just said, Donovan. Why don't we have a civic center?
I mean, it's just something so simple as that. And
well, can you really have a serious conversation until we get big money out of our politics in the city?
Well, honestly, no. Because like I said, I'm a Trekkie, and Spock logic says that you work for who donates to your campaign. That's basic logic.
Spot on.
So let me ask you this: outside of warehousing, what should we be pivoting to?
Small business development. So, it's called community wealth building, right? We have to create. So the counter example is Procter & Gamble, right? Procter & Gamble is a Fortune 500 company. I don't know. They may even be a Fortune 50 company. I have no idea. They're huge, right? A worldwide corporation. They come into our community. They do business here with a 1.5 million square foot distribution center. And I reach out to them and I ask them, hey, how do you invest back into our community? Because we're interested in community wealth building. That requires corporations to invest back into the community. It creates a positive feedback loop. The definition of community wealth building is not making profits and sending them somewhere else.
Right.
It's investing back into the community in which you do business. Loyalty, right?
Loyalty.
So I ask them and they say they don't. Because all their employees, the majority of them, there might be one or two that are temporary employees,
right,
going through staffing agencies. So they're not committed to our community because they're not their employees, right? So that's how they separate themselves from
any responsibility.
Absolutely. And so this is the counterexample, right? We need to develop companies here from residents, build those businesses up. They stay in our community, they're loyal to our community, they invest back in the profits back into our community, and then that's how you create these public amenities. You have a company that just came out of UCR several years ago called SendGrid, largest email management system in the world. It came out of UCR. So people say we don't have no human capital, we don't have engineers, we don't have entrepreneurs. Nonsense, right? We have plenty of universities, count them. I mean, there's a lot.
Right.
The Inland Empire, community colleges. The human capital is here. The problem is they're not staying here because there's no infrastructure for them.
Right.
There's no primary industry. So when we're talking about what are we going to do, we identify our assets, which are our educational institutions. We get that human capital here, like SendGrid. We get them to do business in Moreno Valley, right? They do business in Moreno Valley. We create a primary industry. After you create these primary industries, what happens is you create secondary industries. Those secondary industries employ are lower educated and lower skilled workers, but those workers are paid living wages because they're not temporary employment; they're permanent employees, right? Living wages, benefits, unionized, and all these different things. That's how you grow a middle class. Primary industry, secondary industry. The problem here is warehousing is not a primary industry,
right?
Because it's 1-to-1 on multiplier effect. It provides nothing for us.
Right.
Well, look, can I? Yeah, let me jump in here real quick, and I know I'm not the candidate. Some people say I am.
But no, but again, we're here to discuss issues and just get ideas out there. So you're always welcome.
So when we're talking about community wealth building, and in your specific question, well, how do you do it? So first thing we would do when Daryl gets elected is identify our assets, like he said. We have our educational institutions like UCR, which is right next door to us. We have Reno Valley College. We have our city government. We have waste management, or whoever does our trash, and all these different industries, right? Then we go into the school district and we look at what services are these institutions, these anchor institutions, using that are out from outside sources. For example, you might have a trash company that gets their laundry cleaned, but where they're getting them cleaned at are from a corporation that's in Mexico, right? So a person comes, they get the laundry and they ship it to Mexico, they clean it and they recycle it, right? So all that money, all that taxpayer money from government entity goes to Mexico. So what we would do, we would identify that type of service, help a small business owner build up a business that could provide that service to that anchor institution.
That's right.
The city government helps invest, provides seed funding to get them started. So what you see is that you have taxpayer money going into the government services, right, for education, these type of things, right, paying for these jobs and whatnot. But then you're building up a small business, and that anchor institution is now using them as a service provider. And that money, that profits stay in the community.
Because the owner of the company that's providing those services now live in the community. So those profits go back into the community, and we create this what's called a positive feedback loop. That's how you build a community.
If you have, cut me off if you want to, but
Okay.
say we can create some type of a farmer cooperative, right?
Okay.
So we're having all these fruits and vegetables and all these different things that our school district, our city government, our UCR all buying all these types of fruits and vegetables. Well, why don't we create some type of farmer co-op, right? The city invests seed money to help a co-op get started. It's worker-owned, right? And they're growing food, local food, and provide that product to our anchor institution, and that stays in the community. That's how you build up community wealth. But the great part about it, when you look at Edgemont, it's one of the most distressed communities in the Inland Empire. Really.
Thanks, Daniel.
But
Thanks.
That's true.
Right.
But look at it, right? So now you create a cooperative. Now you have people that were once unemployed, poverty, are now have an opportunity to own part of the company that they work in, that are providing a service to an anchor institution that's not going anywhere. UCR ain't going anywhere.
Right.
Reno Valley College ain't going anywhere. Our school districts ain't going anywhere. Our government ain't going anywhere.
And then you had Sean earlier asked, how do you deal with these mental illnesses and drug addiction and homelessness? Well, guess what? Well, that falls into, now those are services that our government is servicing, but those services those institutions are providing services, but they need to have services from small business. We ensure that those services being provided to those government agencies that are solving those problems are served from small business that is being invested here in Moreno Valley.
And Daryl, touch on, since I'm not the one always talking, so
Well, I've been talking.
but touch on.
I think Donovan hasn't got his chance.
Oh,
No, go ahead. No.
Touch on the local food industry, right? So we were in the food business for a while, right? Several years. We launched a fresh salsa company, right? It was pretty successful.
Right.
And what we did, we sold a fresh salsa product up and down the state of California.
Right, isn't that one with the truck that you guys are on the back of it?
that's
Yeah,
right.
I've seen those.
Yeah.
So we got into the food business before we saw the really big impact of the Great Recession, right? So the timing was pretty off on that.
Okay.
But let me tell you what we learned. What we learned is that we're in Moreno Valley, right? Daryl and I want to create a food manufacturing facility. There's no commercial kitchens in Moreno Valley. So I'm a local entrepreneur that wants to create and manufacture a food product. I have to go all the way to Orange County, I have to go all the way to Fallbrook to open up my facility because there's no commercial kitchens that are here. So imagine if we can now create local food products and sell them to our local grocery stores. So people know that these are local products. When they buy local products, the money stays in our local communities. And that's what we're talking about. Not going into a grocery store and buying products from 6 of the major international corporations in the world, right? And where all that money goes somewhere else, not in our local communities.
Wow. Yeah, that's deep. That's deep. I mean, I'm following you. It sounds great to me. Like I said, in my area, that sounds like something that would benefit the neighborhood that I live in.
Right.
And it makes sense. The thing is, they keep using the water as an excuse and whatever the deal is. But we've been talking to Daryl Peeden, candidate for mayor, and he's got a lot of stuff, and I hate to put you on the spot.
Okay.
So,
I think I've been on the spot for a
yes,
little while, so
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not going anywhere.
Yeah, you're not going anywhere yet. We're not finished with you yet.
I know that.
And I'm sure Denise Fleming is familiar with that term. We're not finished with you yet. Hate to put you on the spot. September 25th, we are having a debate in the Edgemont Community Center, 4 to 7 o'clock. George Price has confirmed. Carrie Thien has confirmed. Are you confirmed yet? Have you checked your calendar?
Yeah, why not? I'll be there.
All right, we've got Daryl Peeden. That's three. And I'm going to give you a gist of this real quick. There is going to be no public microphones because at that last forum, it showed me how the goon, and to me this is the best way to counter the goon squad, is to not let the public ask questions on a microphone. So what we're going to do is we want the public to get there early and put questions on a 6x9 card or whatever, and we're going to pull from that so that they can observe and listen to our answers, and so we can discuss the issues rather than personal attacks and all this other stuff. So it doesn't give me an advantage. It doesn't give anybody an advantage because we don't know, but it still gives the public a chance to ask questions.
Right. I'd like to say that, I'd like to thank you, Donovan, for organizing that. A lot of people, and as well as myself, have given this some thought and said, it's kind of strange that a candidate is going to put together a forum or a debate. It may be biased, maybe it's in my interest not to go, or it's not from an unbiased institute here in our city. So maybe it's just kind of pointless to go. It makes no difference if I go or not. But as I thought about this and I thought about what we represent and what we're really trying to do here, our political participation matters in this community.
Absolutely.
And I think at some point every single candidate running for office in Moreno Valley has to understand, look, if Donovan's not doing this, who else is going to? And unfortunately, yes, he is running for office in the Moreno Valley, but we have to give Donovan kudos, whether you agree with his narrative or him, is one thing, it really makes no difference. The fact is that we have a 28% participation rate in Moreno Valley, and we have to do our parts to increase participation. Now, I know sometimes when participation is increased, others lose influence, and this may be a reason why they don't want to help with that. But I'm going to, and because this is the foundation of my campaign, to do everything I can to bring our participation from 28% up to 40, 50%, 60%.
Exactly.
So we can make a big difference in this community and a difference in people's lives. So if you are in this game for yourself, then don't show up. But if you're in this game to make a difference in people's lives, then show up and let's have a discussion about policy. And let's talk about what we can do in this community to make a difference. And everybody bring somebody. Let's have a good conversation. Don't worry about how that event impacts your campaign. I mean, it makes no difference. I mean, I know some people are running because they just got to be the mayor, they got to be a city council member, but those things are minute. It's petty. What's important is the change that we all can create in this community, because economic policy, things that social policies, environmental policies, the things that we do at the leadership level make the difference in people's lives, and that's what we should be focused on. So that means that you're required to come. I mean, there's no question about it. So I would encourage you, Donovan, keep plugging along and do everything you can to get people there.
Oh yeah, well, absolutely, and that was the whole thing in my district. Because of certain candidates that are running, one has she was a recalled candidate. You have one that was a former bank robber. You have one that's a brother of a recall candidate. 2 other guys you don't know. You got this crazy guy named Donovan Sadiq who's just, out there espousing his views on everything like that. But the thing is, we're not holding ourselves accountable to the people that we want to vote for us. And if you can't come to us and sit there, and I was kind of impressed at the forum and, and how you sat there and you took whatever was coming at you. And that's what a leader's supposed to do. You're going to answer the hard questions. You've got people that just want to run because they got nice big signs and they have name recognition. Well, why don't you answer the questions and help solve the problems of what's going on in all the districts and all the cities? And that's why we put it on, because we knew they did not want to put on a forum in District 1. So...
Right, can I say this too?
Yeah.
You know, just for all those candidates that Donovan may be going after, maybe getting some of the...
I'm an equal opportunity criticizer.
Right. But, you know, you may be getting some criticism from Donovan or other candidates, and that may give you a reason not to come. You know, just for clarification, in 2014, 2 years ago, I remember Donovan attacking me.
Absolutely, that's right.
And with some pretty hard blows, no different than what LaDonna or anybody else is facing. I mean, the reality of it is you know, I wasn't happy about it. In fact, I may sit back and think like, man, when is Donovan going to apologize for some of those attacks?
Never.
Well, see, that's the point, right? So, you know, at the end of the day, we've got to put. Look, you're either doing this to make difference in people's lives, or you're doing it for your own ego.
Absolutely.
I'm sitting at this table right now with Donovan Sadiq and his radio show. He's a city council candidate. He obviously has some biases, and he's running a show for the community. I understand that. He's also attacked me personally, criticized me.
And you weren't even a candidate.
And I wasn't even a candidate. But I'm sitting here now because, you know what? If one person hears this radio station, that matters. Not because I'm trying to get a vote, but because I'm sitting here because we've got to talk about the issues. And this is a good outlet to do it. Now, it doesn't mean that you're getting hundreds of thousands of views and I've just got to be on this show. But it means that, you know what? We've got to give Donovan some credit. He's trying to make a difference. And he may be criticizing you, but get over it. Right?
Put your big boy panties on.
Get rid of your ego. You know, a lot of people say I have an ego and I'm thin-skinned. No, I'm actually sitting here.
Yeah, you are.
And let's do this. Let's talk about the issues. And you don't have to agree with me. I don't have to agree with you. But it's about sitting at a table and let's have a conversation. And I think that's where people need to be. Instead of just saying, oh, forget Donovan, who is he? I don't need to, you know, I don't want to be anywhere near him. You know, look, Donovan, when I leave here, criticize me, it doesn't matter. Right? What matters is these people that are driving down this street, their lives are tremendously impacted by every decision our leaders make. And that's what matters. It doesn't matter, you know, how we're criticized.
Right. And I want to thank you for that because, like I said, that's what all this is about. Because here's one thing everybody doesn't understand. I've been here for 39 years. After this election, if I win or if I lose, I'm for the will of the people. You know, if you want a bank robber, that's fine. If you want a recall candidate, that's fine as well. But I want change. And somebody's got to run. I'm going to do something about it. I'm not going to sit at home. But after this election is over, whoever is the mayor, whoever is the candidate in District 3, when I arrived on the scene, I was a new face. Nobody knew who I was, whatever the deal is. But guess what? I never went away, and I built up a following. And so I'm going to be here, rain, shine, until I'm dead. I'll be buried at the National Riverside thing over down there. Everything's perfectly planned. Yeah, it's already set up. It's already there. My plot, everything's good to go. So I'm going to be 2 miles from where I was raised at. So again, I want the candidates to come on. Do not be afraid to come on this show. You know, it's your opinion. I'm going to ask you some hard stuff. And this wasn't too hard for you, was it?
No, not at all. I mean, not at all.
And like I said, the only thing that I pigeonholed him is to come to the debate. Now he's going to come to the debate, and I'm going to advertise that. But I want to thank you for coming on the show. We are at the Frederick Starbucks here in District 1. We're here at 5 o'clock every Wednesday. Me and Sean 14. Come on, have a soda with us, a coffee. Let's discuss some issues. Let's discuss some problems, and let's get it done. And let's vote for the best candidate. And I wish you guys, I keep saying guys, like I said, it's a twin thing. Daryl, I wish you a lot of luck. I'm very impressed with your candidacy so far, and I can only wish you the best, man.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. That's Daryl. And again, check out his webpage. It's
Peeden2016.com. That's Peeden 2016.com.
And we are out.
It's a good show, Donovan. I like this, man. I think this is